This is Jennifer Davis leading the field in searching these things out.
What was the greatest pleasure you had from doing it?
The pleasure of seeing all that life of those gardens again, because it's so near to my childhood memories, but really also a reawakening of an interest in the garden history of that period. When I talk about garden history, to me, that's the craft of gardening, the use of these things to grow plants, the skills of cultivation. There's lots of people interested in garden design, but just how they manage to produce produce of that quality on demand is the thing that intrigues me. And it's led me on to collect more books on the subject, to read more about it, and particularly to lecture in it.
Now, I see you have several props in front of you that were featured in the
Yes,
series.
yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about them?
Well, let's just look round, and I think I'd like to start with this one and with this. The story starts with, of course, the fact that grapes grow on plants that lose their leaves in the autumn and become dormant, and therefore the grapes, if they're left on the bunch, shrivel, which might seem fine to us because we just simply import some from South Africa and start all over again. But they couldn't do that, and yet they wanted them for the Christmas feast above all. But the French came up with the simple idea of cutting a piece of wood on the end of the bunch of grapes and sticking it in this bottle. This is an authentic French Chateau bottle, grape bottle. And the holding it in a device whereby the bunch hung down. But you can imagine topping that up with water and keeping the whole thing for weeks and weeks is really quite difficult. And the Brits looked at this and thought, well, there must be a better way of doing this. And this is the era of Victorian discoveries, Victorian invention, And what they came up with, of course, was a bottle that bent through 45 degrees. So they made this, and it's patented, and the patent number is cast on here, so we know a lot about this invention. They could then place it on a shelf, and the bottle's quite secure. They could pour water in through the hole in the top here, and the bunch of grapes hung over here, and the whole thing could be kept like that. Now, you may have been thinking, half a dozen bunches, something like this. In the chateau I got this from, there were 600 of these in the room that was devoted to grape storage. They supplied grapes the year, well, not the year round, but the winter round for those French aristocrats. Well, they then went in for severe pruning of French aristocrats, as we all know. The British didn't, of course, and we carried on doing it, and there were hundreds of these used. This one, well, this really sort of blows the cover on any myth that the Victorians were great organic growers, because of course they weren't. They were neither enthusiastic about organic growing, nor were they sort of stick in the muds. They were very, very forward, dynamic activities, lots of new inventions coming in, indeed like the grape bottle. But this is a poison bottle, and it had the poison Paris green in it. And we're talking about poisons, 1 teaspoonful and you're dead. And that's what they were using to kill their pests inside their glass houses. It's an age of the use of chemicals which would now be banned completely, and are banned completely for use. And this chap, well, in the series, Harry blanches the growth of some vegetables by wrapping straw ropes round them. Which was, a standard method, and he makes a hay band or hay rope to do it. I think his is straw, but it was usually hay, and this is the tool that does it, which is a wimble. And the way you use a wimble is to spear the heap of hay, twist and pull and twist and pull, and as you go, and the whole thing comes out just like somebody spinning wool. Same principle indeed. Incredibly strong rope, a bit fat and sort of hairy around the edges, but a good rope which could be used for tying up faggots and all sorts of things like that, and pea sticks, but also used in this way of binding round and round and round the stem of say, celery or whatever you're trying to blanch.